Alright, time to test your literary instincts. This one's about a powerful, haunting novel from mid-20th century America. Here we go. Given below are two statements. Listen carefully. Statement 1. Invisible Man, published in 1952, is a novel by American writer Ralph Ellison. Statement 2. It is a surreal and claustrophobic novel that explores the experiences of a young African American in New York. So, what do you think? Are both statements accurate, or is one of them off? Here are your options. Here's a quick clue. This novel dives into invisibility, not of the body, but of identity. And Ellison's language is vivid, intense, and sometimes dizzying, almost surreal. Time's up. And the correct answer is option 1. Both statements are true. Ellison's Invisible Man is indeed a 1952 classic blending realism with surrealist overtones to depict the alienation of black identity in urban America, a landmark in African American literature. Ready for another challenge? Alright, Quizmaster. Let's turn the spotlight to one of the most electric eras in American culture, the Harlem Renaissance. Here's your question. Who among the following writers were associated with the Harlem Renaissance? A. Leslie Jamison. B. Stephen King. C. Alan Locke. D. Langston Hughes. E. Zora Neale Hurston. Let's see if you can separate the legends from the latecomers. Some of these names echo with jazz, poetry, and power. Others, not quite the same vibe. Here are your options. Pause the video and write your answer in the comment below. Here's a hint. The Harlem Renaissance was a cultural explosion that lit up New York during the 1920s and 30s. One of these writers, Alain Locke, born in 1885, mentored an entire generation. Langston Hughes, born in 1902, became the poetic voice of the movement. And Zora Neale Hurston, born in 1891, captured the spirit of black southern life. Got your answer? The correct answer is option 3, C, D, and E only. These three were icons of the Harlem Renaissance. Locke, the philosopher, Hughes, the poet, and Hurston, the storyteller. The others? Stephen King and Leslie Jamison, amazing authors, but from much later times. Well done if you got it right. Ready for the next one? You're doing great so far. Now let's dig a little deeper into the soul of the Harlem Renaissance. Harlem Renaissance manifests the blossoming of African American culture. But which of the following are its key features? A. It advocated freedom from Victorian moral values. B. The movement emerged in the early 19th century. C. The movement started from the Harlem district of New York City. D. The magazines such as The Crisis, Opportunity, and The Messenger were crucial for the movement. E. Harlem was formerly a black residential district that gradually became virtually a white city. Here are your answer choices. You can pause the video again and write your answer in the comment below. Need a clue? Let's break it down. The Harlem Renaissance blossomed in the 1920s, not the early 19th century. It was a literary and cultural revolution, bold, expressive, and modern. It broke away from Victorian restraints, celebrated black identity, and found its voice in powerful journals like The Crisis and Opportunity. And yes, it began right in Harlem, New York City, which was then a thriving black cultural hub, not a white city. So what's your final answer? The correct answer is option 4. A, C, and D only. That's right. It rejected outdated moral codes, rose up from Harlem, and spread its ideas through iconic black journals. A movement of minds, music, and meaning. Nice work if you caught that. Let's keep the streak going. Let's see how well you know the giants of Black American writing. Arrange the following Black American writers in chronological order of their birth. A. Maya Angelou, B. Toni Morrison, C. Alice Walker, D. Langston Hughes, E. James Baldwin. Here are your options. Pause the video and answer in the comment below. Here's your hint. Let's talk years. Langston Hughes was born first in 1902, the voice of the Harlem Renaissance. Then came James Baldwin in 1924, confronting race and sexuality head-on. Maya Angelou was born in 1928, giving us I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Toni Morrison, the Nobel laureate, was born in 1931, and Alice Walker, the author of The Color Purple, joined this legacy in 1944. Got the order now? The correct answer is option 2, D, E, A, B, C. So that's Langston Hughes, James Baldwin, Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, Alice Walker. From poetry to activism, from fiction to fierce truth, this timeline is a map of power. Okay, let's slow down and reflect for a moment. Because this question touches on stories of survival, memory, and resistance, which among the following is not an American slave narrative? The interesting narrative of the life of Olaudah Equiano, Life and Adventures of Henry Bibb, Narrative of Solomon Northup, Songs of Enchantment. Now think carefully. The first three are rooted in 19th century slave experiences. Powerful first-person accounts that helped awaken the world to the horrors of slavery. But one of these, it's not even from America. And it's not a slave narrative. Got your pick? The correct answer is option 4, Songs of Enchantment. That's right. Songs of Enchantment is a novel by Nigerian writer Ben Okri, part of his magical realist trilogy published in 1993. It explores myth and memory. But it is not a slave narrative. Great job if you caught that. Ready for a bonus round? Here comes another challenge. This one's all about identifying what doesn't belong in the tradition of slave narratives. Which among the following are not slave narratives? A. Black Boy by Richard Wright. B. An Untamed State by Roxane Gay. C. Behind the Scenes by Elizabeth Keckley. D. The Nature of Blood by Carol Phillips. E. Up from Slavery by Booker T. Washington. Your options. Now you can pause the video and answer in the comment below. Alright, here's a hint. Behind the Scenes, published in 1868, is a true account of a formerly enslaved woman who became dressmaker to Mary Todd Lincoln. Up from Slavery is Booker T. Washington's powerful 1901 autobiography about rising from bondage to leadership. Now, let's talk about the outliers. An Untamed State? That's a 21st century novel by Roxane Gay about kidnapping and trauma, but not slavery. The Nature of Blood by Carol Phillips? It's a literary novel that explores racism and diaspora, but not a direct slave narrative. Got your answer? The correct answer is option 1, B and D only. That's right. While the rest are grounded in first-hand or historical slave experiences, An Untamed State and The Nature of Blood deal with other forms of trauma, identity, and history. Nice job staying sharp. Let's keep going if you're ready. Let's see how closely you've been paying attention to one of the most powerful voices in American history. Which of the following is false about Frederick Douglass? Douglass's autobiography belongs to the tradition of fugitive slave narratives popular in the North before the Civil War. He provides a first-person account of his life spent in slavery. He was famous as an orator, dedicated to a black liberation movement. He wrote Up from Slavery. Here's a quick clue. Frederick Douglass was born in 1818, a self-liberated man who became a towering orator and abolitionist. His memoir, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, published in 1845, is one of the most iconic slave narratives ever written. But Up from Slavery? That's not his. Ready to lock it in? The correct answer is option 4. He wrote Up from Slavery. That book was actually written by Booker T. Washington in 1901. Douglass and Washington were both legends, but they belonged to different generations and spoke in very different contexts. If you got that, hats off to you! Shall we go for one more? Now, here's a poetic question that connects two iconic voices across time. Langston Hughes's poem, I, Too, Sing America, is a response to which of the following poets? Herman Melville, Walt Whitman, Henry David Thoreau, Emily Dickinson. Let's slow down and feel this one. Hughes wrote I, Too in 1926. A short, powerful poem about black identity and inclusion in the American dream. He was answering a white poet, one who had once declared, I hear America singing, but didn't seem to hear every voice. Who was he responding to? Your answer? The correct answer is option 2, Walt Whitman. That's right. Whitman's Leaves of Grass celebrated the American worker, but Langston Hughes expanded that vision. He said, I, too, am America. A poetic push for equality, dignity, and belonging. Beautiful if you caught that. Poetry is protest and power. Let's test your post-colonial memory. Who is the best-known figure for articulating the concept of negritude? Edward Said, Aimé Césaire, William Jones, Anna Rutherford. Here's a hint. He was a poet, politician, and prideful voice from Martinique. And the correct answer is option 2, Aimé Césaire. He co-founded the negritude movement, reclaiming black identity through poetry and politics. Quick and powerful, let's move on. All right, this one's a classic. A memoir that shook the world with its honesty, pain, and poetic power. Who among the following is the author of I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings? Toni Morrison, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, Ama Ata Aidoo, Maya Angelou. Here's your clue. This deeply personal memoir was published in 1969, telling the story of a young black girl growing up in the segregated South, surviving trauma and reclaiming her voice through literature. The title comes from a Paul Laurence Dunbar poem, but the voice? It's unmistakably her own. Time to answer. The correct answer is option 4, Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou gave us a groundbreaking work that blended autobiography and lyrical expression. It wasn't just a memoir, it was a declaration of survival. Now, for a question that blends poetry with the politics of the body. A powerful voice writing about something rarely spoken of in verse. Who wrote the poem in Praise of Menstruation? Gloria Steinem, Seamus Heaney, Francis Thompson, Lucille Clifton. Here's a hint. This poet was known for her sharp, intimate explorations of black womanhood, spirituality, and the everyday body. She often wrote short, striking poems that felt both ancient and brand new. This particular piece, it broke taboos, it honored what society often hid, and it gave power to what had long been shamed. Lock in your answer, and the correct answer is option 4, Lucille Clifton. Lucille Clifton, born in 1936, wrote with radical clarity. Poem in Praise of Menstruation is a celebration of the female cycle, fierce, honest, and full of grace. One more poem reclaimed, one more silence broken. Let's keep going. You're doing great. It's time for a timeline challenge. Let's walk through the legacy of one of the greatest voices in American fiction, Toni Morrison. Arrange the following works of Toni Morrison in the order of their publication. A. Jazz. B. Beloved. C. The Bluest Eye. D. Song of Solomon. E. Tar Baby. Your options are here. You can pause the video and answer in the comment below. Here's your clue. Toni Morrison's literary debut came in 1970 with The Bluest Eye. Then came Song of Solomon in 1977, followed by Tar Baby in 81. Beloved, her Pulitzer-winning masterpiece, arrived in 1987, and Jazz was published in 1992, bringing music and memory to the page. Now, put them in order. The correct answer is option 3, C, D, E, B, A. That's The Bluest Eye, Song of Solomon, Tar Baby, Beloved, and Jazz. From childhood trauma to ancestral memory and lyrical experimentation. Morrison's work is a journey through the soul of Black America. Nail the sequence? You're a true lit scholar. Let's keep going. Some lines stay with us forever. Simple words, heavy with meaning. Here's one such quote. Which of the following writers remarked, "You are your best thing"? Toni Morrison in Beloved. George Eliot in The Mill on the Floss. Arundhati Roy in The God of Small Things. Emily Bronte in Wuthering Heights. Here's your clue. This line appears near the end of a novel filled with pain, memory, and healing. It's not a command. It's a quiet affirmation. A character finding their worth after surviving slavery and loss. Have you heard those words before? The correct answer is option 1. Toni Morrison in Beloved. You are your best thing. A moment of self-realization spoken by Paul D. Tussette. It's from Beloved, published in 1987, a novel that redefined how we write about trauma, love, and memory. If you recognized it, you've truly read with your soul. Let's keep this momentum going. Let's turn our focus now to a slightly different question format. It's time for an assertion and reason challenge. Given below are two statements. Listen carefully. Assertion: A. Toni Morrison and Adrienne Rich have contributed to a distinctive style. Reason R. Feminism, Adrienne Rich observes, is the field where subjectivity and politics have to come together in the most natural way. Now, here are your options. You can pause the video and answer in the comment below. Here's a little help. Yes, both Toni Morrison and Adrienne Rich forged distinctive literary styles. Morrison through richly layered narrative voices, Rich through lyrical feminist expression. And yes, Adrienne Rich did argue that feminism merges the personal with the political. But is that quote directly explaining the uniqueness of both their writing styles? Think about the connection carefully. The correct answer is option 2. Both A and R are correct, but R is not the correct explanation of A. Both statements hold true on their own, but the reason doesn't directly explain the assertion. It expands the context, but not the cause. Well played if you spotted that subtle gap. On to the next one. Here comes your final question, and it's about a literary milestone in American history. Who among the following American writers was the first Black American to become the U.S. Poet Laureate and Consultant in Poetry at the Library of Congress? Kyra Davis, Mary Nana Amadankwa, Rita Frances Dove, Lucille Clifton. Need a clue? This poet was appointed in 1993, bringing lyrical brilliance and historical reflection to the highest poetic post in the country. She wrote about African American life, classical themes, and personal memory, all with elegance and clarity. And yes, she made history. Your answer? The correct answer is option 3, Rita Frances Dove. That's right. Rita Dove, born in 1952, became the first Black American U.S. Poet Laureate. She also won the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry in 1987 for her book Thomas and Beulah. If you got this right, hats off. And if you didn't, now you know a name worth reading. Let's close this round with a question that honors activism, identity, and literary courage. Which of the following books was edited by gay activists and artists Joseph Beam and Essex Hemphill? Brother to Brother. New Writings by Black Gay Men, published in 1991. No Tea, No Shade, New Writings in Black Queer Studies, published in 2016. Race Men, published in 2000. Manning the Race, published in 2004. Here's your clue. One of these books is a foundational anthology of black gay voices. It was started by Joseph Beam and completed after his death by Essex Hemphill, another powerful voice in queer black poetry and politics. Ready to answer? The correct answer is option 1. Brother to Brother, New Writings by Black Gay Men. Published in 1991, this anthology brought together deeply personal essays, poetry, and reflections. A bold affirmation of identity, love, and resistance in the face of silence. If you knew that, you've got not just literary knowledge, but cultural awareness. Powerful stuff. Let's keep building on it. Now for a deeper dive. This one's about identity, consciousness, and how we understand literature and ourselves. Consider the following statement. The fact that I am a black working class man will determine my worldview just as much, and perhaps far more than I consciously learn in the domain of ideas. What does this suggest? Here are your interpretive options. A. Man is capable of making free choices in the sphere of intellect and morality. B. The unconscious determines human thought and behavior. C. Man is condemned to be free. D. We bear a form of otherness within ourselves. E. We can no longer talk unequivocally of a writer's intention. Your answer choices are here. You can pause the video and answer in the comment below. Clue time. The statement reflects ideas from Marxist, psychoanalytic, and post-structuralist thought. It challenges the notion of pure free will, emphasizes how social identity and unconscious biases shape perception, and it questions whether authorial intention can ever be fully known or trusted. Ready? The correct answer is option 1, B, D, and E only. This response aligns with Freud's view of the unconscious, Lacan's idea of internal otherness, and Barth's declaration of the death of the author. It reminds us that who we are, socially, historically, psychologically, deeply affects how we think and write. That was intense and brilliant. You've just completed a rich and challenging set of previous year questions from UGC NET English 2020 to 2025. Bravo! That wasn't just a quiz. It was a journey through literature, identity, history, and theory. Now, to access the detailed explanations for each question and view your answer sheet, just enter your name and email and click Submit. You'll instantly get access to the explanation sheet filled with insights that will deepen your understanding and strengthen your preparation. This small step could make a big difference in how you revise. Thank you so much for participating. I'll see you in the next set of PYQs where we'll dive even deeper into what matters most. Until then, keep reading, keep rising,